I am California of the past.
I
I
am
am California
California
of the
of the
past.
past.
I
I
am
am
California
California
of the
of the
past.
past.
I think it's neat to see how things change as you get closer and closer.
I see abandoned grocery carts that seem to spring up overnight, becoming part of the landscape.
Who abandoned the cart in such a hurry? Where were they going? Where are the people now who used to sit and watch the world go by? Do I see what they saw?
I see someone has broken a window, an old window that never got fixed.
I felt that we were discovering things that were hiding from our sight.
As a child growing up in Nebraska, I always wanted to move to California. I remember standing on the school playground in the middle of winter, bundled up in freezing weather, watching airplanes fly over, and daydreaming about who was on them and why they were going west. My ancestors have a long history of moving around the world out of necessity, but always making a home wherever they were, whether it was Switzerland, Germany, Russia, or the United States. After marrying my wife, a California girl, I finally had a reason to move west. We are raising 4 children in the home we've made in Sutter, California, and I no longer dream about being on the planes that fly overhead.
How did I come to Yuba City? That's a good question. See, my parents came to Yuba City after the Great Depression. They both were born and raised in El Centro, California. My dad's father was from the Punjab and my grandmother is from Mexico. My mother's father was a Kuchan Indian from Yuma, Arizona, and her mother was born in El Centro. My father worked on their family farm and went to school. After high school, my parents met and got married. During the Depression, my grandparents lost their farm, so my parents had to move to Los Angeles to find work, and that's where my older brother was born. My parents came to Yuba City to visit my father's parents, who moved here to find agricultural work. My father really liked Yuba City and being with his family, but my mother liked living in Los Angeles so she could be closer to her family. Anyway, I was born in Yuba City in 1948, and my birth certificate says that my nationality is Hindu.
When my wife Jennifer and I bought our home, it was a real fixer-upper. I never thought that the backyard would be anything more than an overgrown jungle. We had plans for the house and the yard, and a long list of things that we wanted to get done first. One day I came home and there was a large hole in the ground. Jennifer had decided that we needed a koi pond. When I was in high school, I tried to help my father and brother build a pond, but it didn't work and my father filled it in. That was all I knew about ponds. I had to learn quick. I read everything I could on pond construction. It was a long, hot summer with a lot of trial and error and endless trips to the building supply store. But finally we finished, and after too much sweating and cursing, we have a great pond. We started on the rest of that to-do list. Now our backyard is actually nice.
My name is Joel Pimentel, and I'm from Cualcomán, Michoacán, Mexico. I always wanted to come to United States of America. At age 17, I got my chance. I came to Yuba City with my family by bus. My dad chose Yuba City after seeing Los Angeles on the way. Los Angeles was too hot, too many people, too much congestion to live there. I told my dad, let's go north to a colder climate. Our destination was Yuba City because my uncle who lived there told us that the weather was perfect. Once I arrived, I knew this was home.
When people ask me if I'm a native Californian, I hesitate because I don't know how to answer. My parents and brother lived in Los Angeles in 1947, the year I was born. They moved there from Lamar, Missouri, the town where my parents grew up. When Mom knew I was on the way, though, she wanted her mother to be with her when I was born. The problem was that my grandmother was in Lamar and wouldn't travel. So my father took my mother to Lamar before I was born. In August of 1947, I was born in the same town where my mother and father were born, grew up, and married. When I was old enough to travel, my mother and I boarded a train in Lamar, Missouri, bound for Los Angeles, my parents' new home. So my earliest memories are of California. I leave the question to you. Am I a native Californian?
Whenever you're ready. When you mention the word pioneer, I think of my grandmother, Ragna Mellum Severson, a more modern-day pioneer. Ragna was born and raised in Brant, South Dakota in 1889. She lived in a sod house, watched her mother carry their cow indoors during a blizzard, and held back her tears when her 4-year-old brother set the barn ablaze while holding a smoldering match. She married and moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and raised a large family there. After her husband died in 1950, she still lived there alone for several decades, moving to California when all her children had emigrated to California and Washington. Even though she lived in Sacramento near my parents, she flew often to Monterey, Los Angeles, and Olympia, Washington to stay connected to her children. I've often thought of my grandma as having a restless pioneering spirit, and that her prairie schooner was made of wings and steel, not wood and canvas.